1:32 seconds. Later on, Alain Chabert got a little help from Bobby Sack on the diving turn where we were talking about the crucial corner, and got that earthen bank on the inside and clouded it pretty heavily. Late in qualifying, P.D. Cunningham, extra weight and all, turned in a 59.509 second lap and claimed yet another pole, which means he is on the inside of that front row. Where Cunningham, third consecutive pole. Mike Galati, the all-wheel drive on the outside. Row 2, Mike Fitzgerald again in that transport Porsche that he had so much success with at Mosport, and Jimmy Adams on the fly in his Armada Zinc Porsche. Row 3, Jeff McMillan, the defending series champion. J.J. Snacks, John Hancock BMW alongside Bob Miller, the Rogaine Direct PC Porsche. Row 4, Johannes von Overbeek, the Flextronics Intel Porsche, and Derek Bell, the Legends of Motorsports Audi S4. In the fifth row, Phil McClure, the Aggregate Industries McClure Concrete vet, alongside rookie Bobby Sack in the A&E Plumbing Grand Sport vet. Take a look at the rest of the field. One of the names is Don Sack.
Yes, Bobby's dad. So dad and son in the same race here. Other names of note, David Farmer. We saw him feature on a Mosport show. Justin Jackson. And I know somebody you like is Eric Curran.
Eric Curran, always very quick here at this track, and we are looking forward to a good run from him, although he had problems in qualifying back in 13th. There is the signboard, less than 5. Watch for the lights to come on. And once they go out, we're green with round 4 of the Speedvision GT. Galati, no stumble this time. Derek, he exploded off the line.
What a jump by Galati. And you saw Derek Bell pull out of line, but look at this sandwich job down to the apex of Big Bend.
Jeff McMillan got a great start as well, went way down the inside. There you see McMillan got squirrely, but he did get by Fitzgerald. He's taking a run at Adams. We are on board with Derek. There's that great telemetry.
Long left-hander, then it goes right, then it goes downhill. Very bumpy. That's Phil McClure.
Phil McClure looking back now. There's Fitzgerald. Look at McClure get a run around the outside. A little bit of V8 torque helping him there as they make the run down No Name Straight. It's hardly straight either, and it doesn't have a name to go with it, through the climbing turn.
Great picture of the elevation change. A long, long uphill climb. Then you go to the top of the mountain.
Bell taking a run here. Somebody off to his left. Looks like he cleared him, and he has glommed onto the back of Fitzgerald's Porsche.
That plunge downhill. Down as fast as you can go. Van Overbeek just slides down the inside of Derek Bell.
That's that diving turn. So crucial to get a good run down this main straight here, the front straight, and into Big Bend.
And 1.5 miles goes just like that. These opening laps on cold tires are just so hectic. But look at the jump Galati made and the lead he has over P.D. Cunningham.
He's opened up a huge margin. Now, P.D. got involved in a little side-by-side tussle in the first couple of corners with Adams, and that may have slowed him up. But Galati, that launch was everything. There's Justin Jackson. That's the J3 Porsche, and he is starting to make his move up through the pack as well.
McMillan, who is in 4th. Looking back to McMillan, or looking back from McMillan's car.
That's McClure. Now we're on board with McClure. This is that turn they call. Whoa, bit of a wiggle there. He got helped. Oh, he flipped. Man. Oh, he went over big time. That is the exit of West Bend. They're gathering some pretty serious speed there. What did he get over? And you see, not a lot of runoff.
West Bend is so fast, and you plunge downhill to Big Bend, but he just smacks the tire wall, and those tires, they cushion the impact, but they also can sometimes act as a launching ramp, which they did here for McClure, who was in 5th place.
This is Bob Miller, the Rogaine Direct PC machine, making his way down into pit lane. Here's one of those errant tires that rolled from the incident down the track. There is the corner crew that is on site, and we are full course caution, as you would obviously have to go after an incident like that. Now, we saw Bob Miller duck down to the pits, and I believe Calvin's there. Cal?
Bob Miller, the leader in the Rookie of the Year standings, is in the pits. Bob, what happened out there on course?
Have a real bad accident coming on down to the main straight, and he flew a tire out to the car, and it hit the car real hard. Looks like it must have punctured one of the radiators.
Did you see anything that happened to McClure out on course? We understand he went on his roof.
Yeah, he flipped completely over, but I tried to get out of the way and just couldn't make it.
Considerable damage here to the left front corner. There's a cooler leaking down here, radiator fluid just pouring out, so his day may be done.
That he just gathered up from a tire. Now we're on board with McMillan. Watch what happened. And McClure, it was all by himself. Oh, he just augured in.
This is on board with Fitzgerald. Look at this. He loses it, gets onto the grass. Once you're on the grass, there's nothing you can do. That's from Derek Bell. Oh, has a full view of the complete crash, does Derek Bell. There's Bob Miller's car. Wow, he whacks the tire right there. Oh, there it is.
Boy, that got Jackson's headlight right there. Boom, look at the headlight go sailing over the top of the car. Those tires everywhere.
That is a war zone at the top of West Bend.
On board with McClure himself here, real time.
And you know what? I guarantee you, Phil McClure, when he knew he was on the grass, he knew he was going to hit the tires. There's nothing you can do. And the chances of flipping that Corvette upside down are pretty high when you hit those tires at that sideways motion.
Compresses and you just sort of climb right up them. We're under yellow. We're going to
Very fast gearbox change after qualifying, but Derek's complaining he does not have the clutch working effectively, so they're going to go in right now, the champion crew, and bleed the clutch. This should be about a 30-second task, so should keep Derek on the lead lap. He's going to lose some track position, but everything should be okay.
They mentioned it was a 3-hour task. Normally they did it in 90 minutes, and this may be the one downside of that. Now, when they say bleed the clutch, Derek, what do they mean?
You literally bleed the air out of the hydraulic system. In fact, you can see it right there. It should come out as clear fluid, and you can see there's air in it because it has that frothy look to it. And when it's got air in it, you cannot disengage the clutch properly, which is what Derek Bell's problem is.
Looks like the head on a nice Guinness Stout from Ireland there, doesn't it?
I wouldn't like to taste it, though.
Let's go back to Calvin. I think he's going to try and get a word with Derek.
Derek's working the clutch here as they bleed the system. Derek, we had a big crash out there on the first lap. Did you see anything of that?
It looked pretty bad to me. I don't know what happened. He was out wide coming out of turn 5. And I'm sorry, he's talking to me as well. Yeah, he went very wide and just got off-road into the tar wall.
Task has been being completed. Derek's going to get back on course and stay on that lead lap. Shaking his head there. I think there's a problem. Still shaking his head right now. It seems that the gearbox is not working effectively and still clutch problems. So he's going to have to get a bump start here to get out of pit lane.
All right, waiting for the crew to give him a little bit of a push to get it fired up and going again. The problems for Derek Bell. Sure, it'd be nice to see him have one race where everything went okay. Now, this is the car, remember, that Calvin mentioned, that he drove last year. So it's an older car. They had to really thrash to get it going here, and they just couldn't fix the one that was damaged so heavily at Mossport. Boy, he is limping out, but he does get out in front of the pace car, so he won't go down another lap, and Derek is back on track. But the trials and tribulations. The Limerock, we continue under the full course caution. And, of course, that was the incident for Phil McClure, the big flip on the outside of West Bend. And before we go back to green, let's go to Calvin for an update. How's he doing, Cal?
Well, great news down here on pit lane. Gary Perry, the technical director, just came up to me and gave me the thumbs up for Phil McClure. He's fine. He's just a little shaken up after the tumble that he took out on course.
Good news indeed. Now, this was a very long caution due to the cleanup, making sure that Phil got out of the car okay. So we're starting lap 12, but it is now essentially a timed event due to that long caution. Pace car is in, and there's the go. And, Van Overbeck moved, and he looked like he went way, way early. We'll have to see how that is handled. But the green does come out, and Galati gets the lead. Now, Galati had opened up a big lead over Cunningham due to the battling Cunningham had to do with Adams on the original start. And this time, no such problems.
So in the standing start, the Audi is superior, as he was on the rolling start.
Now, we're on board with Jim Sofronis, who started well back, but he's already up to 16th, having a very good run for Sofronis on board the San Francisco Import Auto Parts TC Klein BMW. That's one of the cars that was run in touring configuration last year. They're continuing the engine development program to bring it up to speed in GT. On board now with Van Overbeck in the the Flextronics Intel Porsche. And we're getting a word now that we may want to be watching a possible black flag for a jump restart. It's going to bite him.
No, we saw him pull out of line and go forward, but I thought he pulled back in line again. Maybe not. Maybe he chose not to have done that.
Well, we'll keep an eye out. There he is as he comes down the front straight through the diving turn. On board with him. Watch, there's the stand right there, and there it is, the black flag with the number board. So Van Overbeck has been officially, there's a good shot of it. He's going to have to make a duck into the pit lane. That will prove very costly as he's up in the top 6 right now.
And that will frustrate him greatly. One of the things I want you to watch as we go down next time through the diving turn, just how bumpy it is. Not only does it go downhill and turn right, but it has always been very, very bumpy there, and that makes handling extremely difficult when you're really on the ragged edge and on the limit.
We're on board here with Mike Fitzgerald, the Transport Porsche, and this after the track was paved a couple of years ago. Back, I believe when you were running the Nissans, it was way worse still.
Winters are very tough here in the Limerock region, so no matter how many times you pave it, it still gets bumpy.
Boy, Fitzgerald, as he sits in fourth spot, he is working over Jimmy Adams, and this is a driver reborn. Adams obviously struggled with the Viper last year a little bit as that whole program was struggling, but Adams on board the Caldwell Coach Amada's Porsche here has been reborn. He was very quick at Moseport and looks even quicker still and fends off Fitzgerald. Boy, did you see McMillan try and duck underneath and go back on board with Sofronis, and a big, oh! He got involved with somebody else. I think that was number 35, Dave Farner, who, of course, had that tough weekend at Moseport last weekend. And through the confusion, looks like Van Overbeek has snuck by McMillan. McMillan trying to get by. Look at the weaving. And Van Overbeek obviously hasn't responded to that black flag yet.
Yeah, he's not going to get away with that. Van Overbeek will be forced to pit on board now with Jeff McMillan. Watching the action. Look at this side-by-sides up down this hill.
There's Fitzgerald. That is the battle for third as he's trying to find a way by Adams, but he's got to be a little careful here because here comes Van Overbeek. And Van Overbeek with that black flag, he may be driving with a little bit of that red mist, and that could cause some problems if he gets a little overly aggressive trying to get into somebody. He's behind Fitzgerald, so I don't know yet if he did make that swing down the pits. Here comes Fitzgerald closing on Adams under braking, and Adams driving. That's a perfectly defensive line. Still quick enough into Big Bend, but not so slow that Fitzgerald could go right around the outside.
Absolutely ideal line to take down through these S's. Oh, when you have a look, oh, he hits them.
They bumped. They definitely hit.
When you have a look down the inside like that, you got to be so careful because the driver ahead will chop across to the apex if he doesn't think you've taken the line.
And I'll tell you what, the officials are going to be watching this because Van Overbeek not only now for 2 laps hasn't he responded to a black flag, which, as you know, is absolutely the wrong thing to do. He's also out there roughing up some of the lead cars out here as well. They're not going to look on this too nicely, I don't think, at all.
Top of the hill, plunge down to the bumpy section very fast. You got to be brave right here to slide her right to the curb.
And it sure looks like he's going to ignore that again. I saw a hand gesture. I don't know whether that was just acknowledging to the crew that he understands or whether that was a message. We're on board with McMillan, the BMW.
Sixth place for McMillan.
Right behind Van Overbeek. Now the lone left-hand turn as we jump up on board with Fitzgerald. And this corner, they say, is fairly a throwaway. You don't want to exit all the way out because you got to get lined up for the launch onto No Name.
Meanwhile, Galati continues to pull away in the Audi, but we've got great stuff here on board with the top 3, 4, 5 cars. There's P.D. Cunningham just right ahead of this group, but Galati has gone quite a long way ahead.
You can just see him. He's exiting West Bend as Cunningham enters it. There's Petey's car now out of sight. There's Galati down at the bottom of the diving turn. That's the margin. Then Cunningham, then Adams, then Fitzgerald, then Van Overbeek, who's got McMillan behind him. And Van Overbeek finally looks like he's going to heed the call, and he makes his way down into the pits. But Calvin, I would think the officials are going to be fairly livid at this young driver.
Johannes Van Overbeek makes his way down pit lane at 45 mile an hour. The penalty is for jumping that restart, so he's going to come down, make a quick stop and go on and back underway. He's had a great run this season. Finished third in Sebring, fourth at Moseport Park, but meanwhile those other Porsches are putting on a great battle, led by Jimmy Adams running third. He loves this new Porsche. He ran the Viper last year, but he said this is a much easier car to drive. They worked hard with the shocks this weekend over the very severe bumps here at Limerock. He said the car was very good this morning in qualifying.
On board with Fitzgerald in that very battle Calvin was alluding to, Derek. And talk about that with the shocks. The damping is so crucial on a track this bumpy.
Calvin mentions work hard with the shocks. The shock is the shock of the bump. The wheel being hit so hard, it's almost a shock. And if you can dampen that down and keep the wheel on the road and not upset the weight of the car, you will be faster as you see a run here, a run to the brake zone.
Oh, Fitzgerald, he was, they bump, and Adams Adams and Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's around. Adams did the big wiggle. I don't know whether he was able to save it, but Fitzgerald has gone around. He's going to gather it up, but he's slipping back a couple of spots. He's going to get back on board, and if he holds where he is, he'll be in 9th, I think. But, boy, he had a great run. He looked outside, dove to the inside, and Adams shut the door.
Yeah, he
now,
did.
let's go back and take a look at this in slow motion.
Jimmy Adams is not having any of it. He turns in onto line. McMillan is right there also, but Jimmy Adams gets away with a wiggle, but Fitzgerald does the loop.
Now watch right there. McMillan gets into the back of Fitzgerald when he got crossed up. Have to keep an eye on the damage possibly in McMillan's car. Meanwhile, here's Jack Lewis, the Jack Lewis Enterprises machine, chasing Merrill. That's the Immersion Rogaine Porsche. That's the battle for 11th. We'll be right back. Doing exactly that as we return to Limerock. There's your leader, Galati. Cunningham in second. Behind them is Adams, and he is third. That's a podium spot, but Derek, he's got Jeff McMillan all over him.
But he has taken no prisoners this afternoon. We saw what he did when he closed the door on Fitzgerald, but McMillan, who is the model of consistency, reigning champion, is now giving him all he can handle.
Yeah, McMillan has been right in the thick of it all season long, and he's got damage to that front end of the car after that tap with Fitzgerald. But Calvin, it doesn't seem to be bothering him too much. He is solidly in a fight for third.
Well, Jeff McMillan is really putting the pressure on Jimmy Adams right now, but he's concerned about the pace of the front runners. He said, trying to do a battle with the NSX, he said, I feel like I've got a knife in a gunfight here this weekend, but he said he's got good balance with that car, and he says he's got a new car on the way. A brand new E46 will allow him to run a slightly wider tire. He thinks he's got kind of too narrow a tire, really, to get the grip that he needs. So look for him to have that car out at Sears Point in 2 races.
And, of course, a wider tire at Sears will be great. At a Mosport or even a Limerock, the motivation, a little narrower tire, maybe the aero helps out. There's a good look here at Bobby Sack, who's up from 10th to 5th.
Interesting, Calvin says knife in a gunfight. P.D. Cunningham says the same thing. Amazing, isn't it, where you run on the racetrack?
Well, P.D.'s saying it, of course, he's carrying that extra weight. That's a whole different issue. There's McMillan as he's continuing to try and get by Adams. And we should point out with Cunningham, he picked up 100 pounds of just additional weight prior to Mosport, plus he had 70 pounds of rewards weight. They've now added another 100 pounds of penalty weight, if you will, to try and slow him down, plus 40 more pounds of rewards weight due to the win at Mosport. That's why you see on Cunningham's car 110. That doesn't count the 200 pounds in just adjusted weight that they've given him, and yet that car is still singing like it is out there. Meanwhile, McMillan continues to try and find a way by Adams. And there's PD, and PD sits in second right now, but this is the guy he's checking out.
Four-wheel drive Audi. So obviously he's got superb traction, doesn't even need damp conditions that we saw this weekend earlier. But you can see the four-wheel drive appears to have the big advantage here over PD Cunningham, because we normally anticipate PD having a nice, nimble car for these type of S-bends and these corners.
Well, PD talked about it. It's tough to accelerate that weight, but also decelerate it. And, of course, that causes problems in the corners as well. I mean, that weight you feel everywhere. Oh, Cunningham. Boy, that almost looked like he missed a shift.
Yikes, Adams just absolutely flew by.
Oh, look at that left rear tire. Something has just broken on that car. And you have to wonder if that extra weight didn't finally take its toll.
There it is, plus 110. That is pounds of weight. Trying to slow this car down, trying to equalize, trying to keep the parity with all these different manufacturers. But P.D. Cunningham has a rear suspension failure. That was not in the plan.
That was not in the plan at all, and that's not in the championship plan, that's for sure. Here's that battle. Remember, it was for third. Now it's for second. Adams up to second, speak of battling for the podium. And McMillan sits in third. And, oh, does he get a good run midway through Big Bend? But that's, oh, look at him. See the back end step out.
Yeah, great fight here between Adams and McMillan.
And there, that is Eric Kern, Derek. We talked about him at the top of the show. Problems in qualifying back in 13th, but he now has closed up and gone around Bobby Sack. Kern is up into that top 5.
Great run for Kern as we're on board now with Bobby Sack. His dad, remember, Don, longtime Trans Am veteran in the race also, chasing Bobby right now. We saw Sack, remember, get involved in that incident with Derek Bell at Mosport. But McMillan and Adams is where the race is right now. And Curran hanging on to make it a three-way fight for that second, third, and fourth place. Galati is well clear.
Yeah, with Cunningham out, he's got a huge amount of room. There you can see the damage to the right front corner of McMillan's car. If it hasn't affected cooling to the car at this track, I don't think it's going to affect the aero much. Oh, Adams, he missed the turn in. He ran wide there, and McMillan sensed a little opportunity, just couldn't do anything with it.
See the concrete patches here at the apexes, so these surface changes is something these Toyo tires also have to deal with. Meanwhile, go back to Derek Bell, who is currently in P10, position 10, having made that earlier pit stop with his clutch trouble.
Well, and we find out, too, I believe, that he's only working with a few gears in that car. He doesn't have the full contingent of gears. Oh, and look at Kern. He rifles by the inside of McMillan. And Eric Kern now up to the podium after starting in 13th. Unbelievable run by young Eric Kern, former national amateur champion. Has some laps here at this track.
And that was the braking zone, which surprised me how fast he went by McMillan. Got the car a little bit sideways, and then just whoosh, he was gone.
Just really a couple of locations on this track here where braking is an issue, down in a big bend and maybe a dab or two into that climbing turn. Otherwise, it is all momentum. Our momentum keeping us going. We'll be right to tick away. There's the pit board for Jeff McMillan, who's coming in. Damage to the right front corner. And he is in the pit stall. Calvin, is that the issue?
Jeff McMillan, the defending champion in this championship, has a problem with the race car. He brings it into the pits. The crew go around to the right-hand side of the car. Looks like a flat tire on the right side. Right rear is coming off the car. Looks like the jack has gone down a little bit. They're going to have to get it back up. They lost pressure in the jack, costing them a couple of seconds, but it should be a routine wheel change. Jeff will get back on course under green flag. Valuable time in track position, of course.
What a tough break, and not anything apparently to do with the contact and the damage on the right front.
No, just look around there. There is no damage on the side of the car down the side that would cause that puncture. So Jeff McMillan maybe just ran over some debris, but what a great run he had as he wheel spins her out of the pit lane.
Oh, carrying some opposite lock out of the pits onto the track. We're on board. Derek, we're in 10th. So he has had himself a great drive back up through the pack. Again, doing so, Derek, without the use of a few gears.
And with clutch troubles. And the clutch must be good enough now, but if he's missing some gears, Derek is having a very, very good afternoon.
Staying on board, here's the big run under the bridge down into Big Bend. Long double apex corner. There was the first apex. Back to it here. There's a good look at Derek in the office. Working hard. Now this next turn, the left-hander, as he does find a gear there, that's really a throwaway corner. These guys coming into it as well. That's Greg Merrill in the Porsche in front of Alice Chabert. Remember, he had that big hit in qualifying. They did a yeoman duty by the crew to get that BMW M Coupe back and underway, chasing the Porsche, excuse me, of Merrill as they head down into the climbing turn. There you see Petey Cunningham's car parked down at the base of that corner down there.
You don't see many of those BMW M Coupes in competition, so it's good to see that. It has not become a very popular car. Very powerful, great fun road car to drive, but has not been popular in competition.
Now we go on board with Mike Fitzgerald, and he's working traffic, goes by Greg Farner, and going by our lone Ferrari in the pack. And, oh, look at that now. That is Farner again getting very close up as Fitzgerald had to check up a little bit in some traffic, and Farmer able to let him go. Now we're on board. That's with Bobby Sachs' car running in 4th. What a great run by Bobby. However, you see Fitzgerald starting to close up. Yeah,
Fitzgerald running him down. Remember the incident earlier which Fitzgerald did the loop at the first corner. He's making up the time, and he is actually going really, really quickly right now. Bobby Sachs having one of his best runs, but Fitzgerald looks about a half a second to a second a lap quicker than him right now.
And on a 1.5 mile track, that translates into a lot of pace. And Fitzgerald definitely, look at how much he's closing up just in Big Bend alone. Obviously that Porsche very nicely balanced right now. Porsche handling, of course, legendary, as is their braking, and he's obviously making good use of that.
Down through the S's. Another right-hander here. Oh, look, he closes up way, a huge amount. See how Bobby Sachs trying so hard, kicks those rear tires onto the curb. Now watch the brake zone. Not enough there. He's going to set him up.
Did I get light? That's how abrupt that climb is up that.
Probably follow him down through here. Now it's hard to make the pass here because it's the downhill fast right-hander. Remember, this is for 4th place. Downhill right-hander. Now watch Fitzgerald attack. See that rev limiter on the Porsche?
That costs you a little bit of momentum, but he looks like he's got a good run. Down in a big bend, he dives down to the apex, and Bobby Sack, to his credit, gives him plenty of room. Fitzgerald is through, and that's for 4th. Sack looked like he was thinking about a counter move for a moment, but Fitzgerald covered it beautifully. And Mike Fitzgerald is up into 4th, Sack to 5th.
In the Team Sports Porsche GTR3 Cup car, you can see the damage on the left front corner as he made the pass on Bobby Sack from his earlier incident.
Now this is the battle for 6 and 7. Justin Jackson and Dan Eastman in the 2 Porsches. And right now, Jackson holds it, but Daniel Eastman is closing up, and he may get a bit of a break here as Jackson runs up on some lap traffic. See if Daniel Eastman can get a run on him. Back on board now with Derek Bell in that telemetry. Bell right behind Jack Lewis. Bell sits in 10th.
And again, it is just impressive to see these cars move around on the road from those onboard cameras from Derek Bell, particularly the one that's low down. You just see the cars bounce over these severe bumps, just fighting for the grip, particularly downhill here, down through the right-hander. Just bounces away, trying to stay on the road.
You can really watch him feather that throttle. And he feathered it right there as well. He didn't want to move too soon, but he does move out, makes the pass, and picks up another spot. So Derek Bell continues to work his way up through the pack, but Calvin, his day has involved struggle.
Well, Rod Bymaster just came up and gave me some information on Derek Bell right now. He said Derek's out there, the car is stuck in 4th gear, but he's running lap times quicker than he qualified at. So he said, we're thinking about putting in an automatic for the next one at Detroit, but he's done a great job out there holding his own with a big gearbox issue.
Now, meanwhile, there's his teammate up front. Haven't seen a lot of him, and the reason is a big lead. That's the penalty you get for having a dominant run. Mike Galati well and truly out front here at Limerock as we're closing in on the final few moments, the 4th round of the Speedvision GT. There, taking a serious run at Justin Jackson. And he might have a move here.
And did you see the fight he had? His car suddenly jerks into oversteer, defensive line, and yet down the inside, Jackson tries to force the issue.
Boy, Jackson obviously gave him absolutely no opening going in. Oh, and Eastman gets very squirrely coming out of Big Bend. And I think that was because he got forced down and was trying to keep it pinched tight, and the back end just stepped out.
I'm surprised that Eastman kept coming down in the braking zone as deep as he did. Damage you see on Jackson's car.
Eastman takes a look going into the climbing turn. Oh, and he runs a little wide. He took a peek to the inside, and by the time he decided to move back out, it looked like he pushed out a little bit.
Yeah, he is quicker, though. Daniel Eastman is quicker right now. We heard at the top of the show when P.D. Cunningham said it is so difficult to pass here. So despite the speed that Eastman has, he is not able to pass Jackson yet.
That time, Justin Jackson in the J3 Motorsports Porsche got squirrely. Up front, though, we've got a huge battle. Look at Eric Kern. Kern and Adams. Kern in the number 15 vet. Took a look at Adams. Oh, he's right up underneath Adams right there. And Eric Kern in the KAC Technologies C5 vet giving Adams everything he can possibly handle right now.
Adams appears to be good under pressure, though. Mike Fitzgerald pressurized him incredibly at the start of the race. He never wilted, and in fact, he kept his line all the time. He appears to be doing the same thing with Curran, but Curran is having a great afternoon here in the Corvette. Porsche versus Corvette here in the closing laps.
You see that yellow Porsche in front tried to get out of the way, and Justin Marks got very sideways trying to move for this battle, doing a nice job looking at the blue flags from the corner workers. And look at Fitzgerald. He's got a couple of lap cars back there. Meanwhile, Curran continues the assault on Adams. This is for second. And you heard earlier in that feature, Jimmy Adams hoping to maybe be dicing it out for a podium sometime this season. He's there. He is doing it right now. And in fact, now has gained back. Looks like he's picked up a couple of lengths on Curran. And looks like Curran actually may be slowing. Something wrong maybe with Curran. We go back on board now with Fitzgerald, who's auguring his way up through the pack. And yes, look at that. He's coming up on Curran in a hurry.
Suddenly the challenge disappears. Whatever's wrong with Kern, we can't see smoke. Way off the pace. Boom, gone.
That's it now. Fitzgerald just got around Kern for third. Kern slips to fourth, but he's in trouble.
Is he got a puncture? We don't see damage, don't see smoke. Maybe heading for the pit lane, but now Fitzgerald takes up one more position. And guess who's he's chasing? He's chasing Jimmy Adams again.
Yeah, Adams, the only good thing is he's got a couple of lap cars. One of them, Jeff McMillan. Boy, that's tough for McMillan to stomach. There now is Fitzgerald in third, Kern's in fourth, but he's going to be under pressure from Bobby Sack, who's having the run of his season, maybe the run of his career. Look at this. This is Fitzgerald trying to get by Justin Marks. Marks has been very good about trying to get out of the way as he does there, and Fitzgerald slices through.
Down the inside. So remember, he has now made a run from about at least back in 7th or 8th place.
Now this is onboard Sack, is what I talked about. He's already gone by Kern, so Kern's problems looks to be fairly severe. And Sack now, boy, did you hear him get light there again? And so Bobby Sack has moved up to 4th.
And Kern is staying with him now. He's picking up speed again, so whatever problem he had may have sorted itself out, because he appears to be back on full song again.
Well, every once in a while you'll hear about a car that the ignition cuts out and they have a backup ignition switch, something like that. I don't know if this was one of those horrible electrical gremlins, but Kern back on pace as we close in on the finish. Runs wide in the diving turn, has to get out of it, and that gives Sack a bit of a run.
Look how much Sack pulls away in the diving turn. I thought Kern must have his problem back again. He disappears. It's an on-off switch. Kern has 1 minute goes well, then suddenly he drops back.
Meanwhile, up front, Mike Galati, who, as we said, we've not seen a lot of.
He's had a lonely day.
A very lonely day, and the cameras have acknowledged that as well. We've been following some of the battles, and Galati has just been absolutely flat out. And we anticipate, remember now, this is a timed event due to that very long caution for Phil McClure's flip earlier, but we anticipate if timing and scoring thinks it's right, that we should see the white flag coming out, so let's watch for it. At the bridge, there is Galati, and a huge margin in hand right now. And it is. There's the white. So Galati is on his final lap.
Emigrated to the United States in 1996, I believe. He became a U.S. citizen. And enjoying his motor racing. Actually drove for P.D. Cunningham at one stage at real-time racing before moving over to the Audi team. And boy, he has really blossomed with this champion Audi team.
Well, he won a touring car championship for P.D. Then he won one as his own owner a couple of years ago. And then got the nod by champion Audi, and all he has done is deliver.
Look at the smoke.
I think that's the standard. That's that turbo overrun or whatever they have in these cars. We see that before, and he's easing off a little bit. He'd opened up a margin well in excess of 10 seconds, and that's dropping down just a little bit here. Galati obviously needs to keep his focus. One last time through the diving turn, and Michael Galati with Cunningham dropping out. He is probably going to easily retake the points lead. Mike Galati, there's the fist pump. He has done it. Another win on the season. The delighted Champion Motorsports crew. Here's Adams, and Jimmy Adams, remember, he wanted to maybe be battling for a podium. How about second? A great result.
It really was.
Adams.
Yeah, good for Galati here, but Jimmy Adams had a superb run all afternoon to withstand such intense pressure.
Mike Fitzgerald looks like he'll be third, Sack fourth, and Eric Kern in fifth. When we come back, we'll take a look at the results and visit fastest lap. Margin of victory 9 seconds. Derek, that's unheard of in World Challenge competition. Here are the full field results. You can see a great effort by Adams in second. Kern hung on for fifth, but maybe the big stories in 12th and 23rd.